Hey Hunters, HaloZoo here. Today I'm going to be doing a special video talking about some predictions I have for Strixhaven School of Mages, the set coming out later this year, I believe next month actually. Previews are supposed to start sometime this month, but we'll just have to wait and see. So these are based mostly off of stuff we know, which I'm going to go over in a little bit here. Artwork is owned by Wizards of the Coast, of course. So anyway, let's talk about what we do know. And I just have the 5 colleges shown up here. There's 5 enemy-colored factions, each focused on the conflict of the colors. So there's 5, including the Prismari, which I have here, with their command art. We also know the commands are in the set, so there's new commands. Also, each college was founded and named after an Elder Dragon who is still around. So there's 5 Elder Dragons we know of, and they are all still alive and well. Also, it's a mage. Strixhaven is a mage school on the plane of Arcavios. So Strixhaven is the name of the school, not the plane. Rowan and Will Kenrith are in the set. I'm going over these out of order, but also the races present include humans, dwarves, elves, orcs, merfolk, owl-aven, dryads, loxodon, bearfolk, whose name will probably be different, something Urson, I don't know, and supposedly Core, though I'm not 100% sure on that. There could also be trolls, though I haven't seen anything talking about it. Supposedly there's Core, but as we'll see when I get to a later page, I cannot confirm if it's a Core or just a weird-looking human. But anyway, we also know something else. First off, MDFCs, i.e. modal double-faced cards, which I will refer to as MDFCs because that's just easier. They actually originated in this set and were actually brought forwards into Zendikar Rising and Kaldheim. So whatever they came up with made sense for here. And the reason I bring this up is because also the commander decks are associated with this set as well. We know their names and stuff, but this isn't going to focus mainly on it. Though there will be one prediction for the commander set that I will give, but you'll see why. Mechanics. Modal double-faced cards. Let's talk about them first. We know they're in the set. Only confirmed mechanics so far. This is the Lorehold stuff. Last was Prismari. This is Lorehold. My suspicion with modal double-faced cards is they're instants and sorceries on one side and creatures or any non-land permanent. I didn't put non-land for sake of space, but I would assume there's not going to be many land-based ones. The reason I say this is they originated in this set, and I feel like it probably came about because they wanted to bring back bring more instants and sorceries into the set. So they decided to bring in a mechanic that would actually work as something that could let them get more instants and sorceries without sacrificing the number of other permanents. So as a result, why not make cards that were double-faced and work similar to split cards, but were an instant and sorcery or a permanent? And that's where the modal double-faced cards came from, which would explain their origins, as well as sort of explain why they're in the set and what they do exactly. Think of it as a sort of tool to get more instants and sorceries into a mage-themed set without sacrificing the number of permanents or specifically creatures in the set. Though there is another way of doing it that I'm going to talk about later. Though I'm not going to talk about it here because this is about mechanics. And mostly keyword mechanics. Also, Judging by previous faction-based sets, i.e. Ravnica and Tarkir, each college has a mechanic unique to them, meaning that each one has a mechanic associated with that college. We have no idea what these could be so far, but there is one prediction I'm going to make, which is the return of Flashback for Lorehold. Which is actually perfect because this is the Lorehold page I made. But anyway, the reason I'm just predicting the return of Flashback is because it just makes sense to bring back a few instant and sorcery-based mechanics for the set. And Flashback for Lorehold just seems like a slam dunk of, hey, this is a school designed around magic, and instants and sorceries are kind of high magic stuff. Lorehold is associated with history in the past, so it would be perfect to bring that in. Also, we know that each school or college is based on a particular subject. Lorehold is history. Prismari is theater / arts and stuff. -1 type of art. But that is due to some discrepancies. But anyway, Flashback returns. And I'm also predicting Spell Mastery returns as a 7th mechanic, as I'm going to call it. MDFC obviously being the first mechanic, and then Spell Mastery is the 7th. Might not be keyworded, but my prediction is there's like a few cycles of cards with Spell Mastery. As it actually makes sense, once again, it's sort of a slam dunk for the set of, oh, you know, you're learning to cast spells, and it's a very flavorful pick where you have something that's just, oh, you know, it's relatively weak early on, but if you cast it later, then it becomes even better, which could be potentially really cool if done right. I think it would definitely be a slam dunk for the set. And then Prowess, or a variation of it, could appear in the set. May or may not be keyworded, but the reason I say this is, once again, the set really wants to care about instants and sorceries, so I could see a few cards that have triggers like Prowess, where it's whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, and stuff like that I think could appear in higher numbers in this set. So anyway, let's move on over to themes. These aren't mechanics per se, but rather general things. Also, that is the supposed core. Looking at the artwork closer, I can see why people are saying it's a core, but we still don't know. I accidentally brought that up. Oops. Professional YouTuber. But anyway, first theme, Wizard Tribal, like 99.999, repeating of course, % chance that Wizard Tribal is in a set. And I'll actually talk about it in the next page, which I think, yeah, the next page is cards and stuff. Or talk about particular cards and cycles. But anyway, Wizard Tribal, we can assume there's going to be a minor theme of Wizard Tribal. However, I'm also going to make a bit more out there theory that we see support for the other 4 spellcaster tribes. Specifically, it's escaping me. Clerics in white, druids in green, shamans in red, warlocks in black, and then wizards being in blue. And the reason I say this is because, A, it's a school of mages, not wizards. Mages is a more general term, so we could see, like, Silverquill here, who are the poets and stuff. They're based on being warlocks, actually, and are more like warlocks and clerics, whereas Lorehold would be shamans and clerics, and then Prismari would be clerics and wizards. The next two would be Druids, Witherbloom and Quandrix. And if you're wondering what the colors of each one is, this is Silverquill. Guess what colors they are. However, I would say like either they're specific to a particular faction, i.e. Silverquill would probably be the Warlocks, I would say. Prismari are the Shamans. Quandrix would be Druids. Or no, Wizards. Witherbloom is Druids, and then Lorehold would be Clerics. Though I don't know if they're based on the... And, like, this is just a prediction. I am not as confident. I'd say 60% maybe. Because it's the first time they could do it, and it would be the set to do it. So if they were ever going to focus on the spellcasting tribes, because for the first time we have one for each color, finally, I could see it happening. But the third thing is actually kind of interesting, because this is actually based on something that really happened. If you actually look at the set Return to Ravnica, you will actually notice there are more instants and sorceries than normal at the lower rarities. This is because several creature cards were actually replaced by instants and sorceries that made tokens. Thus, I'm actually predicting that there's more tokens running around, potentially with like 2 or 3 per faction, actually. So, like, Silverquill would have their little ink things, and either maybe a Cleric or Warlock token, and it would sort of be like, you know, there's several tokens running around, and I'm definitely going to predict a token sub-theme in the set, where once again several creature cards have been replaced by sorceries that are functionally very similar, but they have a slightly different mechanical gameplay, because these, of course, are instants and sorceries, so they trigger stuff like prowess, even though they're basically acting like creature cards. So that's one prediction based off of Return to Ravnica and what we saw there. It could be another way of getting more instants and sorceries into a set that is about a school of mages and a school of magic. So it does make sense. And this is assuming it's more about the school of magic stuff. We do know this was actually a bottom-up set. And I don't know if the bottom-up... We don't know the exact details of what the bottom-up design was. Though if I was to predict, it was bottom-up magic school. Or rather, bottom-up spell-focused set that was sort of like a set about mages and stuff. And that's where they came to the mage school genre. Also, elementals and illusions at the minimum show up in decent numbers. And second prediction is actually going to be that each faction has a summoned creature associated with them. So, as an example, if you haven't seen Lorehold Command, it actually creates a spirit. So, Lorehold is associated with spirits, Prismari with elementals maybe, or no, illusions, and or elementals. And then we potentially get a new creature type for these things, these little ink critters. Not sure what they would actually be, but maybe inkling. I don't know what they're called. They haven't named what they are, but we see each faction getting their own sort of summoned creatures, and this type of creature that they can summon at will to aid them in battle. And that's one of my predictions and ideas. Once again, not certain, but I would assume there's a few cards that summon elementals and illusions. There's probably going to be elementals and illusions showing up. Next up, let's go over to the Witherbloom page, where I am going to talk about specific cards and cycles. So, rare land prediction. First off, I can all but assure you they are enemy-colored rare lands, meaning that they are each associated with the different colleges, while they also care about instants and sorceries, potentially being spell mastery lands, where they enter the battlefield untapped if you have spell mastery, which I think would be cool for the set. And that could happen regardless of whether or not it's even keyworded. It could be these are the only 5 cards with spell mastery. As for the legendary creatures of the set, my prediction is that the rare cards are going to be 5 students, one, and of course this is 1 per college. So the 5 students who show up in the sort of key art and stuff, I think one of them at least like her and maybe him. I don't know. But she's almost certainly the Prismari student we've seen. But anyway, the 5 students are the rare legends. At Mythic is going to be the Elder Dragons in the set. And then the Commander deck legends are actually teachers. So basically there is a teacher from each school who leads the Commander deck. Now you could interchange them with the Elder Dragons, though I would think that the teachers would make more sense in the Commander decks because they could be more varied. And while the Elder Dragons would make more sense in the set as they would be more of a clear cycle at Mythic. And it would be a cool contrast to Dragons of Tarkir, where you had the Khans at Rare, and then at Mythic, you have the Elder Dragons. So I think that'd be cool. And that's my prediction. And I'd say, once again, Elder Dragons and Teachers are interchangeable, but I would say this is the way I would imagine them being in the set. And I'm going to predict about 90% of the cards in the set focus on Strixhaven itself, not Arcavios as a whole. But we are going to get a few cards looking outside at Arcavios' proper. Mostly with the basic lands, but also several other cards that heavily reference specific things from other areas of Arcavios. Probably, and once again, there's going to be a Wizard Lord. Wizard Tribal is going to be a sub-theme in the set, almost all but guaranteed. And I all but guarantee you there's a Wizard Lord running around. Or 2. And then also, if my tribal theory is correct, with the 5 spellcaster tribes, then there would be lords for each tribe as well, rather than just wizards. But wizards are definitely going to appear, so we can assume they show up. Up next, let's go to the Quandrix page. This is my college, as I am Simic, for the story stuff. First off, no Phyrexians in the story. They don't show up at all. And my reason for saying this is I heavily suspect this story is going to be very lighthearted and is going to be more of a sort of balanced to the upcoming Innistrad sets, which are going to be much, much darker. So it's sort of like, hey, here's a fun, lighthearted set with a lighthearted story. And up next is gothic freaking horror. And then later we get the Phyrexians coming back as the big bads, with the tease and call time not paying off until after Innistrad, is my prediction. But anyway, as for other Planeswalkers, people have been throwing Kasmina around as potential Planeswalker to show up. Though that prediction is kind of hurt by Rowan and Will showing up. And there's going to be at least one new Planeswalker, too. With them probably being black and or green. So somewhere within those two colors, because we already know Rowan and Will are around. Thinking about it, they also could be white aligned. They could be in Obzon colors. Thinking about it. They're probably not Orzhov. And the reason I'm saying that is A, Kaya was in the last set, and B, we're about to get Sorin again, probably. We can assume the Lord of Innistrad returns to Innistrad. But anyway, this isn't about Innistrad. But that's my prediction for the new Planeswalker, at least. And then the story is mostly focused on the 5 students, including this girl right here, actually. Pretty darn sure that's the Quandrix girl we've seen. But anyway, and it's sort of like the 5 of them doing a lot of stuff. And Rowan and will also show up since they appear on the bundle, so they must have a decent part in the story. So maybe like Rowan and Will are learning, and they're learning alongside these 5 students, and they have some misadventures and stuff. Who knows? I honestly couldn't tell you what this story is going to be like. It's all I can say for certain is it'll probably be very lighthearted, not that serious in comparison, as a way of contrasting with Innistrad, as I've said and have made clear. But anyway, these are my predictions for Strixhaven. I might actually come back after we start seeing Strixhaven previews and look at what I missed and what I got right. Maybe after it's all shown off and we kind of get a gist of the story from the cards, I might return to this. But anyway, this has been a fun and interesting video, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. But without further ado, see y'all next time. HaloZoo out.